howling. Moderate snow is falling in Topeka, the capital of Kansas, and that's where we find the Weather Channel's Jim Cantori all bundled up. Jim, how's it going?
Bob, howling is exactly the word. It is a brutal day here as Arctic air begins to filter in behind our storm. Now, we did not get the kind of snow that they got up in Des Moines or in Omaha or Lincoln or even Manhattan for that example, back about 60 miles to the west of here, but we do have the wind, that's for sure. Let me show you Old Glory, about a half a mile away here. You can see this is a huge flag, by the way, and we're right there where 470 meets 70 on the west side of Topeka. And this wind is probably 30 with gusts of 40 miles an hour. So that flag is cranking. As we pan over to show you some of the pine trees just across the interstate here, you can get a little bit of an idea of the snow that's coming down horizontally. It's a light snow, but again, the wind blowing it at 30, 40 miles an hour is causing some drifting. I mean, think about that. You can get a 1 to 2 foot drift of snow out of a couple inches of snow. So if you got 10, 12 inches, you know, you can pile up the drifts 8 to 12 feet like you were mentioning in Des Moines. You can see the cars moving along behind me, fairly nice. A lot of the road crews have been out and about, scraping things off. Not a lot of problems here in Topeka, as we talked to the local police earlier on. But again, up the road a piece, west to Manhattan, Salina, Kansas, Lincoln. I-80 is just an absolute mess right now across Iowa and across Nebraska. This, again, not really representative of the interstate system here in mid-America. But, you know, Bob, it isn't over yet either. Behind this, some of the coldest air of the season will filter down in, and it's going to feel like it should have felt 2 months ago here in mid-America. Back to you.
Now, that's exactly right. Imagine this same air mass coming down the pike 2 months ago. We would see even colder temperatures, but thanks for standing by for us, Jim. Okay. All right. Well, the winds, that's what you heard through Jim's microphone. They're howling, that's for sure. Let's take a look at the map, and you can see how strongly they're howling. Look at that area of red in the Central Plains. That's where they're the strongest. You can see a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust here in the north-central part of Kansas. If you travel to the south-central part of the state, a 46-mile-per-hour wind gust, making it feel very cold. It's very wet in the northeast. That same overrunning occurring, bringing wet weather to New York City as you walk down Broadway or Fifth Avenue, the city of brotherly love. Philadelphia, the nation's capital. Take care. Not a great one for walking in Central Park or jogging. Pretty quiet in the west compared to the east. A little rain coming into the coastline of Washington State. There's the forecast. More wet weather wrapping around this low. More wind-blown snows across the upper Midwest going into this evening. And the rain changing to snow in Chicago. And it will be heavy at times, Chicagoans, as you go about your business, as the snow continue to fly in the Great Lakes.
This is WeatherScope.
Severe thunderstorms, flooding rains, and blizzard conditions are the major players of a dynamic storm system dominating 2/3 of the nation. Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Dan Atkinson. We're seeing a spring-like scenario play out in the southeast today, and that means potentially severe weather. Mike Bono joins us now from the Forecast Center with more.
That's That's right, Dan. Yes, we have had a lot of severe reports in the last couple of days, anywhere from Texas to northern Florida and on into North Carolina today. And more is on the way. We have quite an array of severe weather and tornado watches out, which we're going to take a look at right now. The yellow areas are the areas that have severe thunderstorm watches in multi-state area, even a little bit of North Carolina, but East Tennessee down to Georgia and Alabama. That's severe thunderstorm watch, and I believe that's 10 o'clock Eastern time on that one. And then an elongated area of tornado watch, the coastal waters of Florida on into South Georgia and Alabama. In fact, Appling County, Georgia had 2 reports of wind damage with an injury in Appling County, Georgia, and a tornado reported at Surrency in Appling County. Also, Coffee County, Georgia this morning coming in with a report of a tornado. Also, a tornado watch still in eastern North Carolina, and you've had reports in Lumberton of damage, homes destroyed, mobile homes destroyed in Lumberton, North Carolina with a tornado earlier. This is our watch area, and East Tennessee has popped up in the severe potential area as we go on through the day. A lot of rain. We're talking about 8, 10, 11 inches of rain, especially in Biloxi, Mississippi, and parts of southeast Alabama. And look at the way the rain's been increasing. The rainiest area, 4 to 5 inches since 7 o'clock this morning in parts of Georgia and Alabama. And we have numerous flood warnings going on and a flood watch in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and that is through midnight. So a lot of water, especially around Alabama and Georgia. The Atlanta metro has rivers running out of their banks right now. A very strong front for this far south. Isobars meaning wind coming on in from the west, and also a cold wind turns to snow to the west, which we'll tell you about in just a minute, but you can see where the action is. Florida Gulf Coast, Alabama, on into the Carolinas. We still have some warnings in Alabama. Numerous counties in Alabama coming into northeast parts of that state. Places like Jackson, DeKalb, Cherokee, and Etowah counties with severe thunderstorm warnings back to Cullman County. And look at this line of storms lining up from Columbus, Georgia, back toward near Montgomery, Alabama. The tornadoes earlier in parts of South Carolina and North Carolina, now just strong thunderstorms moving through that area. But this area is starting to beef up along I-65 coming up on Birmingham and Huntsville. Severe thunderstorm warnings, and even on into Middle Tennessee around Nashville, things starting to turn dark and very strong. Anything from special marine warnings to severe thunderstorm warnings, Panama City eastward, back around Pensacola, Florida, and look at all the activity in southern Alabama. These could turn severe any time with large hail and gusty winds. As you could see, needless to say, dangerous lightning is on the map through much of the Gulf states, moving on again into the Carolinas, so you'll want to be very careful getting out of your car when the lightning and thunder are around. Well, that's the wrap-up on the southeast. Again, a continuing situation, severe weather potential, and if you're away from your TV set and near your computer, it's weather.com to click on for the latest from the Weather Channel. Now back to the studio.
And thanks, Mike. The other aspect of this storm is the snow. Residents in parts of the plains are experiencing near blizzard conditions. We have team coverage of the snow in the Midwest and plains with Kristen Dodd in Milwaukee and Jim Cantori in Topeka, Kansas. Jim, the snow has been falling lightly, but has picked up a bit now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has a little bit, and it's kind of interesting too, Dan. It's not just a snow, it's kind of like an ice crystals mixed in as well. We've got an Arctic front coming on through, so that's going to just squeeze the moisture out real quick. And I'll tell you, it's just miserable here with the wind. Wind chills now below 0, so it's dangerous to be outside. And I'll tell you, once we lose this sun, we're going to lose the power of melting some of this snow that's drifting on the roads. We'll show you around. I'll read you some of the road closures that we have. We just talked to the Highway Department, and I-70, which is where we are here in Topeka, east and west from Wanamaker Road, which is right where we are, west to Highway 177. Now, that's just east of Manhattan, is now closed. Now, that's in both directions. You cannot get out on the interstate west of Topeka, period. Highway 75 from Holton north to Fairview, that's north of us, and they may close it south to Topeka as well. Kansas 16 from Jackson to Potawatomi County is also closed. And also US 36 in northeast Kansas is closed. You can see here tonight, visibilities are reduced. The winds are howling. It is a brutal night to be outside. And you know, the worst of this air is not even here yet. We're going to see colder temperatures and no doubt a lot of refreezing tonight. So if you need to go out, do it now, get it done, because tomorrow morning temperatures are going to be in the teens here, and some of the salt that they've spread is not going to be working very much at all. Now, what's happening farther north? Well, Kristen Dodd's up in Milwaukee. She's experiencing somewhat of the weather that we felt last night. What's it like up in Milwaukee, Kristen?
Well, Jim, right now we are getting kind of a biting sleet. Winds are gusting out of the northeast at 30 miles an hour, and when you turn into the wind, that sleet just kind of cuts into your face. And so that's one problem that's happening here on the west side of Milwaukee. We're also seeing the snow accumulating a little bit. We have only really had about a ½ inch to an inch, but the ground right now is really too warm for it to pile up more, and we're right around that freezing mark as far as our actual temperature is concerned. So it's not, it's having a hard time really sticking to the ground and accumulating too much. I am at Highway 18 at the intersection of Interstate 94, a major intersection here on the west side of Milwaukee. A lot of folks come through here, and will do so tomorrow for the morning commute. We could see snow on the ground at that time and some problems with slick roadways. We'll keep you posted throughout the evening hours. Back to you in the studio.
And thanks, Kristen. And Jim, let's take a look now at radar showing the snow falling across the Midwest and the plains. And in fact, it has piled up at Omaha to better than a foot, and in Des Moines, where your air travel has been shut down much of the day, amounts of 8 to 10 inches, and snow drifts in the Des Moines area up to 8 feet, and in fact some of the rural areas around Des Moines reporting, farmers reporting in snow drifts up to about 12 feet. Rain in the warmer sector of this storm off to the east, rain spreading now into southern portions of New England, light rain for the most part. You have had some moderate rain around Philadelphia. In the west, generally dry, a few showers in western sections of Washington State, a little bit of snow for you around Boise, and we look for the temperatures to continue to tumble in the plains as the cold air spills on southward. Look for readings tomorrow morning below zero across western portions of North Dakota. Heavy rain, flooding, and the threat of tornadoes could make driving hazardous in parts of the southeast. Details on TravelWise right after your local forecast.
Hey, 2 Cadbury bunnies, 2 Cadbury eggs, classic cream, and creamy caramel. No bunny knows Easter better than Cadbury's.
Trimmer users, if you're tired of handheld trimmers that strain your arms and back and are so frustrating to use, here's great news about the original revolutionary DR trimmer on wheels. Now there's an all-new smaller DR that's perfect for every homeowner. The new DR Sprint has the same easy-rolling big wheels design as its bigger brothers, but it's a third lighter for easier trimming along drives and walks, around planting beds and obstacles, in ditches, and on slopes. The DR Sprint also has the power to mow even waist-high weeds and grass without clogging. So why put up with a shaky handheld trimmer? Call now for full details on the complete line of DR trimmer mowers, including the brand new DR Sprint that's perfect for